Bernie Sanders is very similar to a Hitler, in my opinion. If Bernie Sanders would have won the presidency, if Bernie Sanders would have come to power, if Bernie Sanders would have taken over the United States, all his policies are just like Hitler. Now, I bring this up because this comes up in conspiracy theory circles, and recently Ye went on the Alex Jones show and went full Hitler conspiracy. Now, a lot of conspiracy theorists do this. They do what Ye did, Eric Dubay did. Eric Dubay put out a documentary called The Hitler World Order, and he got his whole channel taken away on YouTube years ago. Now, it was actually an interesting documentary where it was Hitler in his own words for like 3 hours talking. And it was the first time in my life, I was a history major in college, the first time in my life, I've read a few of Hitler's books and books about Hitler, but hearing him speak, it was the first time I got to hear him speak. Like, you just don't get to hear him speak. So the best way to know what someone believes is just hear them talk. Go and hear what they say. So the first point I want to make about this whole thing, this is a great example about physical realms and emotional realms. So I like to do existence on my show, and existence has two parts. It has physical realms and emotional realms. Your physical realms are supposed to make up your emotional realms. But we're so emotional, we can't see that. Our words mimic the physical and then create the emotional, create the spiritual. And we just live in the spiritual. We're just such emotional beings. And we can't sometimes then take ourselves outside of ourselves to see the physical, to see actually what's going on. And this is a great example of this. Now, because the other side is so emotional against it, it's hard to see what they're doing. It's like, oh, they're Nazi sympathizers. Oh, they're anti-Semitic because they're saying they're going against the narrative. And that might be true, but it also might just be them steering into it because you're not willing to listen and you're not willing to look into it for yourself. So it gets to this place where it gets super emotional. If someone says, I love Mao Zedong, I think Mao's the greatest. I think Genghis Khan is the greatest. I really like Stalin. People really like Stalin. People from socialist circles really like Stalin. Now, Stalin and Mao, their death counts were just way higher than Hitler's. Just way higher. Bill Burr made a joke about this in one of his comedy specials where he said that Hitler wasn't even top 3 on the all-time death list. And yet we have this stigmatism towards Hitler. Now, that's the Psyop part. That's the psychological warfare. If you do something bad politically, we name you a Hitler. Now, why do they do it and why do they use Hitler? That's what's important. They do it because it's their team. It's Bernie Sanders. Hitler believed in all the stuff Bernie believes. It's just all the Bernie people love what Hitler would have said. So then it's interesting that people are then questioning the Psyop, and they don't really necessarily like Bernie. They don't really necessarily like socialism. They don't really necessarily like collectivism. They might like nationalism a little bit, and Hitler was a nationalist, but his nationalism was very specifically towards races. And some people like that, some people don't. No, that's your thing. I just don't like that kind of politics. I just don't. I just don't like collectivism at all. I just like individual freedom, and I like the original United States Constitution, and I just want less, and I just want, like, it's a 4-year period. Let's just try to do a little better than last time. Every year, just let's leave it better than we did last 4 years. Let's not do more government every period. Let's figure out where to do less government. Let's not have the government create problems so then they come in and have more government for more problems. So that's the basic gist of my take on it. The whole part where did 6 million Jews die at 6 different concentration camps? Well, there is a lot of speculation that they did use some video and use some information out of context to use the Jews as a scapegoat to kind of hide behind them. The thing about Judaism is They're not supposed to do fractional banking. They're not supposed to do debt system. They're not supposed to do idolatry. They're not supposed to do money manipulation. If you've ever lived in New York City, you'll come across a lot of Jews, and they're really great people. They're really nice people. But then the business owners, oh yeah, they're shady. Like everybody knows this. Everybody's like, oh, I don't trust them. Like no one trusts them. They'll if you ever do a business deal with them, like they're gonna try to screw you over for money. They're just gonna try to go against their word. They'll be really nice to you. They'll get you to sign a deal, and then they're gonna go against that deal any way they can. They're gonna try to get you. I've had a lot of Jewish landlords. I live in New York City. They'll try to screw you over. Like everybody knows this, and it's really hard not to get frustrated with them. And they kind of hide behind their religion to do this. No, they're not supposed to do that in their religion. Jesus would have called them the synagogue of Satan. They're using their religion to then become the God, become the creator. And that's super frustrating. George Soros, his father converted to Judaism. Lord Rothschild's father converted to Judaism. There's a lot of speculation that Hitler was the offspring of Lord Rothschild. Lord Rothschild's maid had an affair with Lord Rothschild. And then Hitler was the offspring of that. There's a lot of speculation. So the conspiracy is, you do have to go back to the original bloodlines. The original bloodlines are that all the bloodlines come from Abraham. More or less, they all come from Abraham, but one. And that's the Nephilim. The Nephilim, and then the Nephilim created the Nephilim. So the Nephilim were these fallen angel type beings, maybe the first people to clone things. And then they cloned the giants. And every other bloodline comes from Abraham. They just say we come from Abraham. I don't really get too much into bloodlines. I've never really thought about it or been that connected to it. But other people are. They get really into this stuff. And I don't have a problem with these people going after groups that they think are persecuting them, because these other groups are using them to silence them and shut them down. And I like how it kind of kills the energy of it. What Ye did on InfoWars, it really kills the energy of the power of people calling you an anti-Semite. If you say something they don't like, they call you an anti-Semite. They say something you don't like, they call you a racist. And it really just kills the energy of it. He just goes in there and just laughs at them. If he would have said, I love Mao, it wouldn't have had the energy. The juice right now is with Hitler. If you say you like Hitler. No, Eric did this too. Eric Dubay, after he put out that documentary, I didn't think that documentary was necessarily pro-Hitler. I thought that documentary made Hitler look really bad. When I watched it, I was like, oh wow, Hitler's really bad. Now, he's not as bad as Mao, and he's not as bad as Stalin. He's just not. He is bad though. See, I don't like socialism, and I don't like collectivism, and I don't really even like nationalism. I like free speech, guns, private property. I really just like private property. He wasn't necessarily doing private property. Anyways, Eric did that whole thing where he started going around and doing interviews and going, oh, hell, Hitler, because he had just put out this documentary and he had researched it. And it's almost like they're trying to kill the energy of it. And he's like, yeah, they're saying Hitler's such a bad guy. Mess with the history, the Jewish history. They have messed with it. The Anne Frank book was not true. It was fiction. A bunch of books that have come out and said it's not true. So there is a conspiracy there. There is governments trying to make it look like the Jews were the most persecuted group in the history of the world. And then the Jews then go and then take that and hide behind it, and then they do a bunch of shady things. And that's what the people don't like. So that I support. That I don't have a problem with people speaking out against it. It doesn't bother me. But then on the other side of it, I don't like tribalism. I don't on both sides. I just don't like tribalism. I mean, to me, it's just Bernie Sanders. It's just Hitler's just a Bernie Sanders. He just is. And I just can't stand that kind of politics. I just don't like it. I like Rand Paul. I like Ron Paul. That's really it. I mean, they're the only ones that are pushing freedom. Anyways, it was an interesting interview. And most people, they're going to jump into this energy field. They're going to go to one side of it. The biggest takeaway from me is understanding how energies worked. The political players use energy. They want the words and they want the conversations in a very narrow box, and they don't want broad conversations of it. I guess that's my biggest point. It's a psyop to get you to be trapped in a political ideology. Not really a political ideology, more of like a social ideology. It's just a way of labeling you, and then you don't let the truth out. Then you can't look into the conspiracy. The conspiracy is where the truth is. There is some truth there. What is going on is exactly black and white. No, with this issue, no, not at all. It's all bad. It's all bad on every side. When you get into politics, I mean, you're not going to be remembered for anything good. You're only going to remember for anything bad. If you do one thing, then you're working for one group or one system, and then you get labeled that thing. And that's just not just politically a trap. It's socially a trap. It's culturally a trap, and you're going against different groups. So it's impossible to not get trapped once you get into politics. But the best way to look at it and freely and learn from it and figure out how we do it better is by talking about it and not getting labeled. And if you get labeled, just blow through it. Just do what Ye did. I don't have a problem with what he did. I think what he's doing is pretty smart. If you want to hear Hitler talk, you just can't hear him talk anymore. You can read a couple of his books. You can read My Kampf. Outside of that, there's just, if you want to hear it from his own words, you're not allowed to. You have to believe what the government tells you. And that's really what happened with cosmology. It's so stigmatized, you can't look into flat Earth. You can't go against heliocentrism. Well, what's so wrong about flat Earth? If we do live on a ball, we live on the plane of that ball. That's the first thing that flat earthers are trying to tell you. Like, it's observationally true. We don't sense a spin, and we don't see a curve, and we get stigmatized like we're Nazi sympathizers. First and foremost, there's nothing wrong with questioning the Nazi conspiracy. There's just nothing wrong with that. There's just not. Like, stop playing that stupid game. It doesn't work anymore. I tend to disagree with them. I'm not a Nazi sympathizer. I don't agree with everything they're saying. But it's fine to have that conversation. It's fine to look at history and see how you're getting screwed over and see how history repeats itself. Hitler was a National Socialist just like Bernie Sanders. If Bernie would have taken over all the stuff that Hitler did, Bernie would do. I mean, he says that's what he wants to do. Anyways, as far as how this relates to cosmology, it's really just the stigmatization of branding and of words, and how the words create your energy, and then they come from a physical realm. But we're not allowed to look into the physical realm. We're not allowed to look into the objective truth. Before you look into the objective truth, you got to go through a tunnel of emotion. You got to go through a tunnel of branding. You got to go through a tunnel of marketing. You got to go through a tunnel of ship-shifting the mind. And then you got to reconstruct your mind. But to reconstruct your mind, you got to do something in your body. Your blood is physically changed from the words. I'm going to be labeled a Nazi sympathizer if I talk about this. Oh my goodness. That's the point I'm trying to make. That's what's going on. You see that. Oh, I'm a flat earther. You can't look at the information without personal attacks. We can't look into the information without the words affecting our blood in our body. Our blood in our body is connected to the things we believe. That's crazy. And that's what this conspiracy will really show you. It is the Hitler psyop. It's the most stigmatized conspiracy. It's the hardest one to even go look into it. You're not allowed to say anything good about Hitler. Anything. But you can say good things about Bernie Sanders. When he's all his politics are just like Bernie Sanders. Just like Bernie Sanders. If you can go research it for yourself, you can just start with Hitler's words. Just try to find his words. Try to find out when he talks. And go from there. But, yeah, they're all bad guys anyways. They're all bad guys. Hitler's, and the other thing about the swastika is north, south, east, and west. It is it's a map for the world, for the earth. That's what's funny about how they stigmatize that symbol and make it make it a nationalist or socialist white supremacist symbol. And it's just more proof of how powerful symbols are, how powerful words are. Albert Pike said, "You rule the mind through symbols." If a picture says 1,000 words, then a symbol says 1,000,000 words. Symbols are so powerful. Now that symbol is a symbol of the earth. And they were wrong, I think, in using that symbol. I think they were wrong using that symbol as a political symbol, and it's like, this is our earth. There was a war that no one really knows about with Richard Byrd against Nazis out in Antarctica. There was a war out there, guys. There was a war out in against Nazis out on Antarctica for that land. And then the countries of World War II ended up making a treaty out there, and then everybody else eventually joined it. And that's our ice wall. That's our container, and that was for supremacy of this world. They are all trying to control this world. And first and foremost, the way you control this world is by controlling the mind. And you control the mind through symbols, and you also control the mind through stories, and you give them a story. And that's really all that's going on here with this conspiracy. They're just controlling the mind through stories and then symbols. And the north, south, east, west symbol is a really powerful one. And he used it, so then they used it to say that he's the worst thing ever. And he's bad. He's bad. He's definitely was bad, and it would have been a much more tyrannical world order if he would have won World War II. The people that won World War II, what they do is they let you think it's free. So in order for them to let you think it's free, it's got to be free a little bit. It's good. America has freedom and has private property, and that's, I guess, why we don't see it as being as bad as it actually is. It is really bad. The world is terrible. The world is just, especially where you live, depending on where you live. In America, it's okay because we still have private property, and it's okay for a lot of people. But for everybody else, it's just hell. It's just slavery. It's just terrible. This world is it's got a lot of problems, and it all stems from the governments. 100%. And I think if the Nazis would have won, it would have been the same thing. It would have just been, but it would have been more like Russia or more like China, where you have your top class, your military class, and everybody else is poor. And that's what people think. That's what rich people think. But now those rich people know, like a Donald Trump, he knows that he's not in the Bilderberger. He knows he's not in the trade deals. He knows his businesses don't get to survive in this new world order. In this one world order, this one world government they built. Trump's businesses don't get to survive. Neither does all these other business people, and that's why they're fighting it. And some of them are playing their game and understanding the stigmatism of the energy and not going against it, and then others of them aren't, like Ye. And then Ye's just trying to just use the energy against them. And that's what's going on. And that's pretty interesting. It's pretty interesting, pretty fun if you understand it from that perspective. But then, you're going to get all those people that don't, and it's because they don't want to. They don't even want to look into it. But call me a Nazi, and I don't even. I don't like socialism at all. Nazi, it stands for like the National Socialist Party. I just hate socialism. It's so stupid.